press the go live button, if I'm being entirely honest, then it would work absolutely seamlessly. So we all had to listen to the theme tune then on our own. Let's do it again. It's so good. Let's do it. Hang on.
Open wide for some soccer!
Good evening, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us on a pretty good weekend for the Mariners all around. I am joined by Bruce, Hannah, and Tom, all in their wonderful abodes up and down the country. Hello, everybody. Tom, how is everything? Have you moved down to my neck of the woods yet, or are you still relocating?
No, yeah, I went through Woking on the way down to Portsmouth, having spent the weekend in Grimsby this afternoon.
I got to fly. I forget I'm on camera now. Well, I'm glad. Welcome to this part of the world. Yes, the houses are that expensive. Bruce, how is everything your end? How is everything in sunny GY?
All good, mate. Thank you. Yeah. A lot better than it was half an hour from the end of the game yesterday, but no, we're all good, mate. The sun's actually shone today, so yeah, everything's good.
I mean, you can't argue for that. And then Hannah is here as well. I've got safe news. That little one is now happy and content and is looking at a future in podcasting, but not just yet.
Yeah, she's great. We managed to get her to the game and she had an absolute whale of a time. So yeah, she's on a hammer now.
That's a good point. You did pass your COVID test, didn't you?
Yeah, we all three took them and passed with flying colours. So God knows what was up with her.
Well, I mean, it's what can you possibly start with other than a 7-goal thriller, 2 red cards? It was almost competing with the game against Nottingham Forest that I seem to be the only one that can remember. There were a few of you that were lucky enough to be there. Sadly, not me. Bruce, what did you make of it? How was it? Another bumper crowd, though it seemed 1,000 of them had come from Sheffield Wednesday. How was it as an experience and as a performance?
It was good. I think John Tonda was right. Paul Hurst in the interview didn't quite pick up, I don't think, what he meant, that when he said it was an un-Paul Hurst-like performance. I think he was talking about the conceding of 3 goals and the sloppy defending, and Hurst, he thought he was on about him and how animated he was on the touchline. But I thought we should have been probably out of sight by the time we gifted them 2 goals to go 2-1 up. We played some nice stuff. Alex Hunt, regardless of the goal, grew into the game. Obviously, I don't think we probably would have come back. There was the chance, but without the red card and the penalty, because obviously that put us within touching distance. But yeah, there's some really exciting players. There was a couple of my mates came for the first time yesterday this season, and we were just talking about the first touch of a lot of the players: Sousa, Hunt, McAtee, the lad on the left from Coventry. Forgive me, I can't remember his name, but they just the players, the touches and the speed they try and move the ball with. I think we could be in for a good season. Where are the goals coming from? We only scored 4. But yeah, I was pleased for Taylor as well. His diving header was probably almost a dying art. It was a great cross from the right by Sousa, who at the time we were just bemoaning the lack of support, and he just thought, right, well, I'll dig a cross out then, and he dug out a good one, and Taylor put it in, and obviously the free kick to win it was exceptional. I think the keeper was half expecting a cross, wasn't he?
Yeah, it seemed to. Hannah, what was your favourite goal of the 4? I guess it must have been. I'm not sure actually whereabouts you sit. I think you're in the pontoon, aren't you, or are you in the main stand now?
Yeah, we're in the pontoon at the back, straight behind the goal. So we saw the last 2, up close, which is great. Favourite goal's got to be the last one, just because it was the winner. But I did love the header for goal number 3. Like, it was just, you don't see many like that. But yeah, it was just the right angle. So yeah.
Tom, like me, you were in a wedding, were you not? I mean, how was tracing that and keep in touch on what was going on your end?
Yeah, it was all right actually. The wedding started at 3 p.m.
Inconsiderate.
So, they managed to get through the ceremony before half time. So we got a nice little update, and then during the meal, there were a few of us checking our phones. It has to be said. But yeah, fantastic result. Very following it from afar. Very up and down. I have seen the goals, and I thought Barnet's 2 goals to put them 2-1 up were really well worked goals. They obviously saw something on that left hand side because they got in behind on the left hand side twice, didn't they, for the cut back and then the cross in. So maybe that's something to look for. But overall, what a great start we've had. 7 points from 9. And can't really complain, can you? All right, we obviously prefer 100% record, but yeah, cracking.
I just say, Alex, as well. The players were clapped off at 2-1 down at half time, which I think was a change from the norm. There was no sort of audible discontent at all, despite what people were thinking. Like I say, they really were supported well all game.
I mean, that is a change in the times. Usually, I mean, I know as a supporter base, we should be more prepared for our time in the non-league than we were last time round. That first defeat to Braintree was a heavy and hard lesson to take, but it was one we all needed to attend. And we know there are going to be games coming up where I felt quietly confident about coming into this game with Barnet, and they certainly they tested my mettle. Defensively, I've heard numerous reports that it was actually not too bad, and some people online have sort of obviously they can't help it. They go straight for the man between the sticks. I didn't necessarily think he was too much at fault for those 2 goals that Tom was mentioning. I'm not sure what those who were in attendance were feeling, but we've already sort of pointed that left back position where there was a couple of opportunities arisen. Was it? We've spoken about it being an Paul Hurst like performance. Was that expected? Because I thought we've defended relatively resolutely over the last couple of games, especially obviously against Stockport.
Hannah, do you want to take that, or do you want me to?
Yeah, we don't do our hand thing anymore, do we? Yeah, go for it, Hannah. We'll work something out.
Yeah, I think it definitely could have done with tightening up a bit at the back, and certainly one of the goals, I think there was a Pearson error that was quite un-Pearson-like, but I mean, he more than made up for it in everything else he did. And I thought in general, Waterfall looked pretty good. Like I couldn't pick out anything he did wrong. So yeah, just a bit of tightening up needed maybe.
I think apart from the goals we conceded, I can only remember, Hannah, the one really good save that McEwen made low down to his right, where it went sort of through a crowd, and he did really well to turn a good shot round the post in the first half. I think we were nearly punished for every mistake on or every lapse in defending. And like Tom says, maybe there was a little bit of good play in there, but I think, like Hursty said afterwards, he was just a bit concerned how easily they got in, and with the first 2 goals, certainly.
I mean, it was phenomenal, and I thought the red card was very similar to the one that Reece James was sent off for a couple of weeks ago. I thought it was relatively harsh. I thought the ball came at quite speed, and the double jeopardy thing of getting the penalty and red card suited us very well, and I'm very happy about it. But I think if it was one of ours, I'd be slightly miffed if that was the case, because was there a defender potentially having an opportunity to take was behind him as well? There was a fair few that could potentially have taken the ball off the line if it had got in. I don't know what you think about the sending off. Harry Kuehl certainly wasn't happy about it. I don't know what anybody else on the panel's take was. Tom, you're smirking. You might have a thought.
I did just when I watched the highlights, it just amused me that they zoomed in on Harry Kuehl having a bit of a go, and then obviously getting sent off, and the zoom was like really slow. on the highlights.
Did you want some sound effect on it?
Like the Jaws, the Jaws theme.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that, didn't it? And then by the time it had got there, he'd already been sent off, so they missed most of the action. Just really tickled me, really. But I was at that 4-3 game that you mentioned at the top of the programme. Forest, I was there. I remember it very well. It was an absolutely belting game. Although I have to admit, I did leave early, so I missed the third Forest goal. So when we left, it was 4-2.
It certainly had something that this one didn't. The referee got knocked out by Grovesy. So, I mean, it had everything, that game. First, also, we've got to say hello to everybody who's watching live. So, hello, Twitter, hello, YouTube, hello, Facebook. If you want to add any comments, any questions that you want to put to the panel, by all means, put them in the chat message and it will come up for us to read, and we'll obviously put them out and hopefully answer them. Anything to fill the content. There isn't too much to complain about at the moment, so we're running quite tight on that content, but it's been wonderful. And yet again, another 5,000 attendance, obviously with very few fans there. I think there was 50 odd from Barnet. Just shows again what the experience is doing, and hopefully by word of mouth we're going to find people from Grimsby who don't necessarily come that often returning. Obviously, Bruce, Hannah, you were the ones that were able to experience it firsthand. Was it the same as it was the first game of the season? It certainly felt loud on the old wireless.
It was a bit flat. It was a bit flat at 3-1, if I'm honest. There was, but I thought everyone said that the atmosphere was brilliant, and obviously the last 20 minutes or whenever that incident occurred, it was electric from then on. But I think naturally it had gone a little bit flat at that point. But yeah, it was good. I think what was I don't know if you saw, but they put out I think the club put out a statement or a sort of newsletter on the Friday saying, or the Saturday morning, saying that they'd listened to what the fans had said. The changes I noticed, or the main change I noticed, was that the fan zone was open at half time to access from the lower, and I'm not sure, probably the upper as well, because you can get through, which was designed to take the pressure off the lower Findus bar. And why not, when the weather's good, get people just walking straight out the Osman end, where funnily enough we happen to sit, into the straight into the fan zone. There were a few who, shall we say, didn't return promptly for the start of the second half. But yeah, it was good, and obviously the place was rocking at the end, and it was really good, and everyone stayed behind to clap the players off. And I think
am I too southern to think that we now need a bell like we do at the theatre, just to tell us there's like a 5-minute warning?
You're definitely too southern. The amount of times that we recently,
ladies and gentlemen, the performance starts in 5 minutes. Please return to your seats. Thank you.
Yeah, that would be drowned out. But yeah, I think the amount of times with some of the crap that's been served up in recent years, the amount of times we watch the second half in the bar, which you can't do from the fan zone. So yeah, you better be shoved where the sun don't shine, I'm afraid.
Well, I mean, the fan zone looks amazing. I think it probably needs a few portable heaters in there, and because it's going to be relatively nippy in there on a cold February evening. But it looked wonderful. Hannah, you were mentioning something in our chat about fans struggling to get from one point of the stadium to the other. Obviously trying to experience all the different food outlets we've got now, like this is Ready Steady Cook or something. I assume that wasn't a massive issue, or was it a bit of a palaver? I know you've got a pass, haven't you? You could
No.
You've got a nappy bag.
Yeah, a nappy bag. Yeah. Hannah's got a life tip.
I might bring one next game.
Yeah, this is a life hack from Hannah. If you want to move around the stadium, you need to do what?
You need a toddler or a baby, and you need a bag with nappies in. Please
use your own children. Do not take other children to the ground just so you can get a hot dog. It isn't worth the ticket price, or the suspended sentence. I mean, I can't. Was there any standout performances there? Was anybody relatively you thought stood out throughout the game? Tom, you've been able to watch the highlights. What did you think? Obviously, Hunt's free kick was sensational. Sorry, Hannah. The balls on the guy to put it through looked pretty good, didn't it? You're on mute, man. He's still on mute.
Yeah. Well, obviously you got to mention McAtee, haven't you? 2 goals. If everyone's saying he's not a striker, when I tweeted about that, and he's playing like a striker. So yeah, I'm enjoying that aspect. Obviously, cracking strike for the free kick. Sounded like he went close from a free kick in one of the other games as well. So maybe he's a bit of a specialist in that department, which is quite nice to have, isn't it? Bit like when we had Connor Townsend on loan. But yeah, I mean, I've only seen the BT highlights, so I hadn't seen like loads of footage. But yeah, it just looked like a cracking game and a really good performance. And I can't remember the last time we came from behind to win, which I actually think is a really positive thing to do really early on in the season. I think if you're going to do anything in a season, you need to have a couple of wins where you've come from behind and shown a bit of resilience. And you also have to have those moments where you get goals in the dying minutes. And I think sort of to do it in our third game is like a massive confidence boost for the squad. Because already you've got that mentality of, well, we've been, what were we, 2 goals down at one point? I mean, I did, drink quite a lot at the wedding, so memory's not brilliant. So yeah, coming back from 3-1, like even to have got the draw at that point, I think would have been brilliant. But then to actually go on and get the win from a set piece situation, I mean, like from the highlights I have seen so far, I'm really enjoying our variety on set pieces. I think that's a massive. I'll shut up now.
That was abrupt, wasn't it? That was an abrupt.
What's wrong, man?
It sounded like you were flowing.
I just felt like I was rambling a bit. So yeah.
I mean, it wasn't even what it doesn't even go into your top 20 rambles. That was.
We didn't mention badges or tickets or anything.
Yeah.
Hannah, you were going to unmute yourself. What were you going to say before Tom rambled about tickets?
Well, you asked me about the gate, and then I didn't actually.
Sorry,
answer.
man. I am sorry. I am terrible.
There was before the game, the guy who sits next to me went to get a hot dog because the other one the queue was just so big, and he couldn't get through, and that was that. But then did
he borrow your nappy bag?
No, no, he's quite elderly. But yeah, then at half time there was just quite a bit of argy-bargy between some fans and the stewards, and I don't know, I just walked past it on my way back from the toilet. So yeah, I think it was just a group of about 10 maybe, but yeah, maybe a bit of miscommunication as to where each stand could get food from.
Bit of a bun fight.
Yeah.
Hey. They did say they're going to sort of rotate them, aren't they? But I mean,
yeah,
we can't, guys, we can't all just go for the food. There is football as well. I
think the issue was the crowd was so big that the queues were massive, except the main stand vendor. So fans wanting food quicker were trying to get to that one.
I mean, I will happily go in the main stand, charge me £3 delivery fee, and I will throw hot dogs over to the pontoon if needed.
You can just see grown men sobbing in the Findus at the gate, can't you? Watching Hannah go through with a nappy bag, looking at Beast Burger.
There were some people like, what's she doing? How is she getting through? There were some people questioning it, but
it probably didn't help you going through and sniggering when you came back with 4 Beast Burgers.
Well, that's all the nappy bag was full of. It was full of 45 Beast Burgers and a hot dog.
Yeah, you're lucky if you sit on my row.
Did we ask him on Friday if they
now available to download?
They had like a strategy for sort of trying to maintain the crowds. Did that come up?
No, not really. We
I
didn't
thi-
really go into that, but
I think-
we can always bring on Christine to answer those questions if you wish, Tom. I'm sure she'd be happy to come on and talk about it.
No, we've just been interested in the answer, because I think it is a fair point that sort of the early games of the season are pretty well attended, especially now with like everyone. I'm going to the Torquay game next weekend, and that's the first time I've been to watch Town play since we played Swindon away in the season that got cancelled, which is, I can't tell you, it's probably 18 months. So obviously, like, I'm excited about that. So I imagine, like, obviously in the WhatsApp group, we've had Bruce, like, sort of telling us all week that he was at the Stockport game and he had a really good time. But I imagine there's like lots of people like that, and there's probably lots of people sort of far away from Lincolnshire who haven't been able to get to a game yet, who are looking forward to it as well, and that will obviously, like, for local people, probably wear off at some point. And I was just wondering, if we'd have an answer of if there's any sort of ideas.
I think you did briefly ask it, Alex, didn't you? Well, I think, didn't Jason sort of talk about fan engagement and just keeping... He didn't so much talk about increasing numbers, did he? But he did talk about sort of trying to keep people feeling part of it and that sort of thing, Tom. Just quickly, Alex, just want to flip it round a little bit. First thing, I think just what I wanted to say before I forget is that I also think yesterday's result was really good for the fact that it does keep that really positive feeling going a little bit longer. It's not sort of we're traipsing down Grimsby Road after 3 games, 1-1, drawn 1, lost 1. The fact that we did turn it around and win, I think with everything that's gone on is really important. And we go to Torquay full of optimism. Wrexham haven't started on fire, and then I think we're at home to Eastleigh, who are down in the bottom 3, if I'm not mistaken. So we had a tough start, and there's tough games to come, but I do think that if we can get some sort of result Saturday, we're going to go into the Wrexham game full of confidence. That was my first point. And just secondly, like you said about Tom, about being an exile, and obviously Alex, you are as well. How does this make you? It might be a stupidly obvious answer. How does this make you feel at the moment about everything that's going on? Does it make you? Alex,
I hate it.
Does it not make you think, right, I need to jump in the car and I need to go to more home games than I normally would, or I want to go to more home games, or how is it? Did you feel completely detached apart from the radio and bits and bobs that you pick up and stuff?
I feel a little bit more detached, especially than the last couple of seasons. I've been lucky enough to wangle the system, so I've been able to watch the games more than I've ever been able to. So I felt really connected over the last few years. It has felt like the 80s. I think we've touched on it before, where I'm now listening to John Tonda and relying on him to give me an image of the game, and then waiting on the highlights to come through. It was great that 3 of the goals were set pieces, because we got to see them pretty quickly. It is a shame. I would love to come back up and forth. It's just the idea of dragging a poor 7-year-old who's not that interested, I have to be entirely honest, 10 hours round trip to come and watch Town. I don't think he'd necessarily love it, but it will certainly make me come to a few more home games, even though my away day calendar looks very full next season. I don't know how you feel, Tom.
No, I don't feel more detached, or more inclined to sort of get in the car every week and come to a game. I lived. I'm kind of used to it, because I did live abroad for 8 years, so you sort of get used to not being able to go to games and having to just follow games from afar. And my replacement for not being able to go watch Town has been getting involved with other clubs, either as a volunteer or just having a season ticket, or both in some cases, which obviously I'll get round to sorting out now I've moved down there. Probably won't get a season ticket down here, but I'll just go to the odd game just to watch football for the fun of watching football. But it is nice, like, to see how everyone's really excited about the club at the minute. and to see like the good crowds and know that if you do come home for a game, there is going to be a big crowd there. The atmosphere is going to be good, and it's going to be like an enjoyable day out. Because obviously, if you're travelling a long way to watch a game, you don't want to be going and there's only like 3,000 there. The food's crap. So, yeah.
I think so. Maybe as we've talked about the fact that they need to engage with other people. There's been a bit of talk, hasn't there, over the summer about exiles and schemes for exiles and what we can do for exiles. We know that town, you only got to go to a London game and there's 300 or 400 faces that you don't see up north regularly. Maybe that needs to continue, and as much as they need to keep people coming from home, there needs to be a way of trying to get more exiles back home on a more regular basis and wanting to go. I mean, like you say, Tom, you're probably slightly different because you're used to not going to games. You're a town fan, but by the sound of it, you're not a regular because of your previous.
It's off. I'm a regular. I get to at least 10, 15 games a season.
No, that's right. I mean, all right, you're not a regular. Yeah.
You've started something now. I mean, I think that's a good place to end it on that, because it's not the only team. It's not the only Grimsby team to win at the weekend. After this short little interlude, while we separate Tom and Bruce, we'll come back and we'll have Dale on. He'll be able to tell everyone about the GTFC women's 3-0 victory against Notts County and his performance, and what may have happened to him during the game as well. Be back in 30 seconds. That was far too sudden. I'll try and work this out as well, Dale, so you get a bit of. If I do that, oh no one wants that. There we go. That's far better. Do you know what, Bruce? I'm really sorry. I'll take the logo off as well, so you're not covered. There we go. Brilliant. So Dale, congratulations on the win this afternoon. First game of the season. Exactly how you wanted it to go, or?
Yeah, it was in some respects. Yeah, it was exactly the result we wanted, and it's great to get back playing some football again after a long period of time inactive in the world of women's football because of the COVID pandemic. So yeah, positive start, 3 points, decent performance, and we're off the mark. But did it go? It's a bit of a loaded question, that, isn't it? Did it go entirely as I wanted it to? Would you care to elaborate?
Well, apparently you were playing an homage to Harry Kewell, were you not? What?
Well, I wouldn't mind being a few bob behind him, but no, not quite. But for the first time in my managerial career, I got a red card. I got a little bit overexcited.
Was that what? Was it just what over exuberance, or? I mean, I haven't read the report. What was the scoreline when you got sent off?
2-0 up. No pressure, fully under control. But there'd been quite a bit of frustration going on, and I'm not here to talk about referees. That would be wrong. That would be totally wrong. And
you'll start Tom off for a start.
Yeah, and on reflection, then the referee's made a call, and people will judge whether he's right or wrong, and you have to live by it. And that's what's happened. It's never happened before. I don't think it'll happen again either.
But overall, a thoroughly dominating performance. How have the new players settled in, and how's the season looking?
The season's looking good. It's looking positive. We get to have, touch wood, we get to have a full season at the level that we got promoted to 2 seasons ago. We've got off to a good flying start with a good 3-0 win. We've dominated the performance, and the new players have looked good, and the new players are young players as well. We put a lot of faith in young players. We've done quite a bit of work to find the right type of young players to bring into the club, and they've done very well, very well.
Dale, hiya.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Good.
Lovely to be on the show. Thanks for the invite.
Can you just explain to us, for those who are a little bit more ignorant like myself, where Grimsby Town sits in the women's pyramid?
Well, we're tier 6, so we're one off the very bottom. We came in at the bottom, tier 7, which is the county league, because you have to. We're not Manchester United that walked straight into the Women's Super League when they got going. We start at the bottom rung of the ladder, and to be honest, we're quite content to do that and build it up. And it's quite rewarding to sort of see the progress and to move up through the pyramid, isn't it? And so we're tier 6. So we're the Women's Super League obviously is tier 1. The Women's Championships below that, and then it's the Women's National League Premier and the Division 1 North, Division 1 North, Division 1 Midlands, Division 1 South, and then it drops into the tiers where we are 5 and 6. So we're looking this year. Sorry, go on.
What sort of distances are you travelling? What obviously you played Notts County Stay, was it?
Yeah. So it's the East Midlands League. So it covers everywhere from Northamptonshire, Leicestershire, Nottinghamshire, Derbyshire, into South Yorkshire as well, believe it or not, and then across into Lincolnshire. So it's quite some distances involved for the sort of level that we play at. But we get some great support from the club with travelling, and they give us the use of the team bus and minibus, and it's fantastic. It's great.
And have we got like any sort of youth set up, or are we just on a first team at the minute?
We tried this season. We wanted to launch a couple of teams at under 16s and under 18s. And we tried. We've come to the party quite late. So we don't have any youth development programme at the moment in terms of girls' football, but it's certainly on our radar to do. It's going to take us a little while to get to that position in terms of not only sort of players coming along to join us, but also having the facilities to be able to put on the meaningful sessions that they need. But one of the things we have discussed is that we might be looking at some stage in the future to operate like a player development centre where girls that can play at any club they like can come and have some additional coaching from Grimsby Town coaches sort of in the community, which would be nice for them.
Okay.
Hi, Dave. I think it's interesting what you say, because my daughter currently plays for Clee Town under 11s.
Wow, yeah.
And I think I'm right in saying at the moment in her age group, there's only really Grimsby Borough and Clee who operate the girls' teams. And I think it's interesting how the club approach it, really, isn't it? Because on the boys and youth side, Grimsby is elite, if you like, in the area. So the best players go to that. And it would be interesting if you started with lower age groups, whether it would be like any club, you go along or whether they're invited down. So what you say about the training would be good, and then it would be an opportunity for you then obviously to see the girls, because there aren't the same numbers of girls still. I mean, hopefully that will change, but as there are, if you had a boys open session, you wouldn't get the same numbers down as you do for the girls. So I think something like that would be a really good idea, because like I say, at the moment, there's literally a couple of clubs, and it's just trying to increase those numbers, isn't it, to give teams like yours more options further down the line?
You're absolutely right. It is a numbers thing. There's a lot of terrific work being done by the FA and by the county FA and by lots of clubs. And you've mentioned too there, Cleethorpes Town and Grimsby Borough did great work with football, junior grassroots football. But it's a numbers game, and we've got no wish really to put at risk what they're doing in the community, because they're important parts of the community as well in football. So we have to be a little bit mindful of that. Of course, when it comes to women's football, we want the best players. We're competitive, and we want the best players, and so there is some player movement. But there's a lot of work being done by the FA. Steph Powell at Lincolnshire FA is working extremely hard to increase the numbers of girls playing and the participation, and it's getting there. But I think there's still a little bit of work to do. But this year, the number of teams that have come into Lincolnshire and North East Lincolnshire have increased, and the number of girls that are playing has increased as well. So that's positive.
I think it was really good as well that Graham Rogers, his GT Set team, they put on a girls only course, because I think sometimes it can be intimidating, particularly for the younger girls training with the boys and playing with the boys. Sometimes that can, I speak from experience with mine, that can. So the more, like you say, but then the community's then got to come out and back these sort of things in numbers to make it worthwhile putting them on, don't they?
Oh, you're absolutely right. And Graham's fully committed to it. He's really on board with wanting to see girls' football development and participation increase in the area. And so he's right behind it. And we're very lucky to have Graham, actually, because he's been a massive advocate for what we're doing with the women's team. And we actually come under the Sports and Education Trust Department within the club. And they do a fantastic job for us.
Brilliant. Thank you.
I know. And what can the town fans help with? I mean, games are usually Sunday 2:00 at Wintringham. Is that right?
Yeah. 2:00 at Wintringham. We're not a closed door. We're quite happy for people in the community, if they want to express your wish, to come in along, to get involved. I mean, we've had games. Had a game at Blundell Park previously. We've had a game at Bradley, and people have stepped forward. They've put steward invests on to help us out, and all sorts of things. So there is a community of people out there that are interested in women's football, and if there's anybody at all that's interested in getting involved in some capacity, we'd always be happy to hear from them.
It's even just it's a great thing for us to go support as well, I guess. And are there sponsorships available for players as well, or anything like that they can put their hand in their pocket for?
We haven't actively advertised for sponsorship for players, and that's one of the, to some extent, that's a great thing that the club have supported our players. There's a lot of clubs out there where players are having to pay to play for their women's team. I hear figures of £350 a year, and it used to be north of the river, one team was charging in excess of £700 a year for their players to go and represent their football club, which is, it's like a golf club membership, isn't it? Let's be honest.
I mean, we should have done that last season with a few of the players, but yeah.
No, don't be like that. but so from our point of view, our players come and play for Grimsby Town as Grimsby Town players. So they're not paying subs. They're not paying for kit. They're not being asked to find sponsors. But there are sponsorship opportunities out there. We have had some great support, and we've had one particular sponsor that's come forward this year and has made a very generous offer of support to us, and has said, look, I don't want any publicity for this. I just want to see you doing well, which was superb.
That's fantastic here. And where's the aspiration, locally speaking? Are there clubs you're looking to ascertain to that sort of level in the long term? I guess who's the example?
The standout clubs that sort of close to us, if you like, a couple of women's National League clubs. You've got Lincoln City, dare I say it, great club, are doing wonderful things in the world of women's football. We aspire to be a women's National League club. Doncaster Bells, who one of the oldest women's football team in the league today, who are at that level as well. And it's not massive, huge steps for us to actually get to that sort of level. So that's the target. We'd like to get to the Women's National League Division 1.
And is there, obviously, the Women's Super League is having thankfully quite a lot of attention drawn to it of late. With the Premier League clubs going into it and putting money in there, is it becoming more of a closed shop up there, or is the level still as easy as it used to be when, say, Doncaster Bells were the driving force in women's football?
More difficult to get to that level, and of course,
yeah.
So it's only in recent years that the teams in WSL1 or Women's Super League, it's been compulsory now that they are professional. They are professional football clubs with full-time professional players, salaried players. Championship have to make commitments to in terms of the number of training hours that they have to put in place for the players, and the flexibility to allow the players to go back to their full-time employment. So yeah, it's quite tough to get to sort of that level. There's some money going in there, isn't there?
But yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Sorry, I had a bit of a rant on a podcast a while back about, it might have been on Cod Almighty, one of the two, about why do we have to call them Grimsby Town Women? I think you had an explanation for this. Why can't they just be? They're in the women's league. We know that. Why can't we just call them Grimsby Town like the men's team? Because for me, that makes it more of a club, in the same way that when the academy side are in the under 18s, it's just Grimsby Town.
We don't have any big hang-ups or any problems with that. If you talk to the players, they get referred to as Grimsby Town women. They refer to themselves as the girls. They get referred to as ladies. None of them have any hang-ups about that. I think in terms of differentiation, it's difficult for the club to put out a tweet to say that Grimsby Town have won today, as we have done against Notts County, without qualifying the fact that it is the women's team that have played the game. Because do you want supporters thinking, well, we played yesterday against Barnet, what's this to do with Notts County today? So there's no huge hang-ups about it. It's just the identity, I suppose, of the team. They're very proud to be called Grimsby Town Women.
We'll take the 3 points, though. So we've got 10 points now, then.
Notts County are done now, yeah.
We'll have the 3 points from Notts County today. That's it. We've got 10 points now. We're joint top now.
I remember seeing something last season, what they did with women's football in Colombia. Am I right, Tom? I'm pretty sure I shared it with you, where the men's team and the women's team were intrinsically linked. And I think the men's team on the league club badge only wore half of it, and then the women's team wore the other half. It was slightly controversial, but it garnered quite a lot of support towards the end. But if you've never seen it, I'll send it over.
I think what I will say is this: is that compared to a lot of other clubs in the world of women's football, and including teams a lot higher than us in the women's pyramid, we are a fully included part of Grimsby Town Football Club. There's lots of clubs that sit there as separate affiliations to their club, separate Twitter feeds, separate Facebook feeds, separate websites, their own separate bank accounts where they have to raise their own money and fund everything. So in terms of being included as part of Grimsby Town Football Club, we're 100% part of that football club. It's superb, So a lot of credit has to go to the club for the way that they've approached it. And for those that you've been at the ground today, you've had the Grimsby Town PR people around the pitch. You've had Amboyers there and Lee Blees there, snapping away, taking pictures and covering the game. And we haven't had to sort of go out and find volunteers from the community who wants to come along and be the women's team snapper. It's the club expect to be there and to provide for us and support us in that way, and that's superb.
I'm delighted to hear that. And has it changed in any way with the new ownership as well, or is it's still same as usual, I guess, is it, or has it changed?
It's certainly same as usual because we've been supported well all along. But it's really encouraging. I had an early conversation with Jason, who was keen to have a chat and just keen to establish an initial contact, and he made it very, very clear that we're a valued part of the club, that they're fully behind us, and that we're fully included with the plans moving forward. So, when new training facilities come along and that sort of thing, he said, it's there for you as well, for you guys as well. So it's nice, very nice. And
next, so Bruce, go ahead.
It's just a bit off tangent, but how do transfers work in at that level, Dale? Do they, with regards, can you strengthen your squad during the season? Are the transfer windows, or how does it work if you want to bring in new ladies or girls?
Entirely as it does in the men's game. We've got our eye on players at the moment that we're interested in. If we want to approach a club within a transfer window, secretary has to write to their secretary and serve them a 7-day notice of approach, which we did recently with a player, which hasn't worked out, but we've got another one in mind that we'd like to do, that we're thinking about at the moment. So it's entirely the same, no different.
And I guess the next game is what? Sleaford Town, 26. Well, home game anyway. Sleaford Town, 26th of September, down at Wintringham. Is there anyone can turn up and come along, or is it
closed
gate at the moment?
No, whilst we're at Wintringham, anyone can turn up. We had a really good turnout today. I think there was probably somewhere in excess of 75, 80 people that casually turned up to watch the game and support us. Other side of the pitch where there's safe standing and behind us sort of a respect barrier. And it was nice. It was nice to see people coming out and supporting us, and we'd like to see more people come along. They'd be made very, very welcome, and I think they'd be quite pleasantly surprised by what they see.
I mean, Scunthorpe would be envious of those numbers. It would, it would be, but I'm looking forward to it.
They don't have a women's team, do they?
Do they not? Do you know what? I was about 10 years ago. A lady who I used to work for played. I think she was the goalkeeper for Lincoln City, and she was bemoaning at the time, as a lifelong Town fan, that there wasn't anything at the time that she could switch allegiances to. But I'm glad to hear it's going okay, and I think it's something, especially on this podcast, we need to focus a bit more on. And it's been great to have you on to sort of tell us what's been going on. Hopefully, is it a 3-match ban you've got to serve, or are you back on the touchline at Sleaford?
Don't know, no idea. Game away 2 weeks at Sherwood, and we'll see what arrives in the post, I suppose. Sorry.
That's all right. I mean, do you even know the fining system? Are you looking down the back of the sofa at the moment?
No, I'm going to raid the piggy bank, I think, and get some money out to pay the fine. So yeah, take it out of the holiday fund.
You are actually a Town fan, aren't you, Dale?
I am. Yeah, I am. I've been a Town fan for many years, almost by accident, because I'm not from this part of the world. I live down in Skegness, but I haven't always lived in Skegness. I grew up to about the age of 10, 11 in the West Midlands in Walsall. So I grew up as a wee kid watching Alan Buckley play, and he was my childhood hero. Loved Alan Buckley as a player. And
that bodes well.
We used to travel home and away to watch Walsall play. Me and my dad used to travel home and away to watch Walsall from Skegness. And then when he pitched up at Grimsby Town, we thought we'll go and have a little look because we're fond of Alan. And of course, he brought some great players along with him, which were ex-Walsall players like, Gary Childs, Richard O'Kelly, Craig Shakespeare, and others. And it just felt like home from home to us. So we just fell in love with Grimsby Town as a result of that, probably in about the second season that Alan Buckley was there. And now we're all absolute Grimsby diehards.
I think you enjoyed it yesterday again, didn't you? You put on Twitter.
Oh, yeah. What a great day. It had everything, didn't it? Had everything. And the atmosphere at Rundle Park was just superb to see people back in the stadium, in the ground. It was terrific.
It just feels fresh, doesn't it, at the minute? The whole atmosphere around the club just feels like something's happening.
It's not felt like that for a long time, has it? And in terms of the sort of the positivity on the pitch, and there's a whole freshness about the place, and I think it bodes well for the future. I'm really enjoying it.
I decided to turn my camera off. Brilliant. Dale, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully we'll have you back on the show very soon. Hopefully you'll be able to give us a pitch side report of the games to come. If you don't have to sit in a small shed or in the history block of Wintringham Academy. And it'll be great to have you on. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks you. Thanks
Dale. Thanks, Dale.
Thanks.
Well, there we go. I mean, it's a great thing that's happening. I was meant to press a little sting thing then, but it didn't work. But it's been pretty. It's great to see that the club are getting involved and doing it. And I'll certainly pop down to a game and have a look. And it'd be nice if we can get a game or two at Blundell Park at one point. I know my suggestion earlier was derided by some, but you never know. It could happen. Well, coming up, we've got some games coming up. I don't know. This is a scary part of the season for us, isn't it? Make Torquay next, followed by Wrexham, then Eastleigh. I don't know where they finished last season. Tom, you might be able to help with that. Do you know where they? No, good. And then Maidenhead, and then Bromley. We've got 3 half decent teams coming up in the month of September. What are we feeling for Torquay? Are they still the same strength team that they were last season when they lost in the playoff final?
Well, it don't look like it because they haven't had a great start. But I think the person to ask on that one will be Rich Mills because he watches Torquay on a regular basis. So maybe have a look at his Twitter account in the coming week. he might be able to give us some inside info. He might even be doing the rough guide to Torquay on COD Almighty.
Do I get to do the one for Aldershot?
And if you've signed up, you do. They are. I don't know if anybody's seen them. That is something we've started up again on COD Almighty this year. Rough guides to teams, and they've been very entertaining so far. So if you have even just going back, like I read the Barnet one today. Even going back and just reading them, it's quite interesting. You get a little bit of fun insight into the teams that we're playing.
And you were saying as well, are they still looking for younger writers as well to sort of drop the age range down from mid-60s?
We were, yes. So that opportunity to apply is now closed. We had 5 applicants, 2 of which were women, which is great. But yeah, we've sort of we're hoping to give them all a diary slot over the next month. And then appoint one of them as a new diarist who will. I think I'm the youngest contributor, and I was 35 a couple of weeks ago. So we probably need someone well under 30, because I think we have a little bit of this on the podcast. Really, we've got like a group of people contributing to the pod who can all remember us in the what is now the Championship, and whilst that was great, that was the best part of 20 years ago. So we need some people who can perhaps only remember us playing in League Two in the conference to give a bit more of relative perspective to where we've been for the last couple of decades.
Those poor souls. I don't want to look at.
Can only remember us being shite. Yeah.
They must be dead behind the eyes.
Well, I think it's good to include everyone, isn't it?
Well,
your point's a good one, mate.
We're always open for anyone to come on. Anybody who has any idea of how it is to organise this podcast. It's kind of like herding cats at times with our schedules. But anybody is welcome to contribute. If you think you could come on the panel and have a good chat, then we would be more than happy to come on. Any questions? We're going to come to the part where we talk about things that people have put up on Twitter. If you've got any questions for the panel now, by all means throw them in and we'll put them on. Has anybody got any closing thoughts? We were talking about Torquay and Wrexham. Is this where the feel good factor goes?
I'm just sorting out my travel to come and see you, Alex, actually tonight. For anybody that doesn't know, England are playing against Albania at Wembley on the 12th of November and Town are at Aldershot on the 13th of November. I will leave that one out there.
You can't stay at my house. There's no room. This is the spare room.
A travel opportunity for any Town fans that want to take in 2 games in a little over 12 hours.
Woking is a good place to stay, my friend. It is 20 minutes on the train from central London.
I think we stayed in some place called Camberley last time.
Camberley's very nice. That's the posh
we looked at Aldershot and we looked at Camberley, and I think we plumped for Camberley.
Camberley's good. It's the only place. It's the posher place. It's
like
not
Slough
a
and Windsor.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Right.
Aldershot very much looks like Grimsby. Like it used. Everyone around here talks about how big and how cool the town centre used to be in the 90s, and now nothing's open. And just apart from that, but no one could move anywhere because there were so many military police checkpoints, just in case you remember the RA, like Tom was apparently 2 minutes ago with his shadowed out face.
Well, if you can see my face, I will be at Torquay next week, so feel free to say hello. I don't bite.
Hang on, my camera's died. Give me 30 seconds. It should click in any second now. There I am. Everything's breaking. But yeah, none of us bite, I don't think, apart from Henry, and that's because he's sort of out in the field and become feral. Matt Newton has said, striker apart. We don't need a striker, Matt. We've already scored 4 goals. Do you feel we need to strengthen a particular area on the pitch? I will open that up to anybody as Tom cracks open a beer.
Yeah, sorry
And
about that.
Bruce leaves. Hannah, do we need to strengthen in any particular area other than upper front?
Well, not really from my perspective at the minute, because we're doing great. Like, yeah, there's injury worries up front, but I guess Lenny's got a scan on Monday, and we'll see what comes of that. But yeah, at the minute, no, I think I'm quite happy with the squad.
This is how terrible a podcast we are. We didn't even mention Lenny getting injured. I mean, what's the prognosis on that? Are we looking at a couple of weeks out, or have we heard anything more other than he's going for a scan?
So yeah, Hurst said in his post-match interview he's got a scan on Monday and it's his hamstring. He grimaced when it happened, but don't know much more. And I think his calf's okay now.
And as the injury problems worsen, obviously Long King was limping as well, and could leave us very short at the back. I think that could be an area to look at. Matt, we don't believe you. I don't think you are happy with the squad. You have been moaning about it non-stop. Let's be honest. We all know it. Are we centre back wise? Who have we got? We haven't got Idahan anymore, have we?
Jazz Goundry, I think he's a centre back.
Yep.
I'll be honest, I didn't see Long King limp, so yeah, I really like him, so I'm a bit gutted about that if he is injured. But yeah, I'm sure Jazz Goundry, he played at Boston, didn't he? With the hat thing that he's got. Was that him?
With the hat thing?
Yeah, when they've had a head injury, they put I don't know what it's called.
A fedora?
Like what Torres had.
Yeah, absolutely. And then James has come back and said Crooks and Sears could do a job there. Goundry is a Petr Cech. I think Goundry is sort of a left-sided midfielder at most times, but he can play defensively. But we seem to be short at the back all of a sudden, and the injury list seems to be mounting. Any news on when Sean Scannell, the man that seems to continue to exist only on a team sheet, is he expected back anytime soon? I don't know if anybody's heard anything else on that.
I think the ones we've heard nothing on are the ones that basically have been put out to pasture, I think. Sorry about that, by the way. I just had to go and remove a live mouse from the cat.
I hope he was eating it.
No, the mouse had hidden from the cat behind some bowl, and I had to anyway. Yeah, the cat had cleared off out because it couldn't get the mouse, I think. So I scooped it up bravely, and I've thrown it out the front door. Thank
you, Jack. Jazz Groundry does wear a hat thing. We will call it a fez from now on, just so it has a name.
It doesn't sound like we're going to see Joel Grant anytime soon, does it?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what Matt Newton has just asked about, actually, in regards to it, whether or not we're going to have anything come through from that. I don't think we are, but it's nice to see Taylor. I was slightly worried about Taylor, considering he spent 5 minutes on the pitch in a pre-season game and limped off. He seems to be coming good, and is potentially a really capable signing in this division.
I think Hannah's seen both home games, but I've been impressed with him, to be honest. His hold up play, he's been very good, and he doesn't give the ball away a great deal, and he's got more running in him than I thought he would have as well. I think he played. Did he play 90 minutes yesterday, Hannah? I think he did, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's one of them that he works so hard, and you might not notice what he does, but he does so much on the ball and helping the team out.
I just thought he just doesn't give the. He's just very good at keeping hold of the ball, and it comes to him throat high, and he'll control it, and it'll get laid off, and generally it finds a town player's feet. So yeah. I think the fitter he gets, I think he might be a better player than I perhaps thought he would be.
Yeah, it's good to see, and it's a shame. I guess it might be the intensity of the workouts. We seem to be a lot fitter than a lot of the other teams coming out. I felt we were fitter than Barnet yesterday, and I know they were working on 10 men, but we seem to have some legs, and we certainly didn't. Given we had to play Stockport and our first game of the season, it seems to bode well at the moment. But I'm interested to see how we're going to cope with a couple of tough games, Torquay away and then Wrexham. It's going to be a really interesting one. But it seems to be Dagenham and Redbridge are the team that are sort of taking everybody by surprise at the moment. I don't know if anybody has dared look at a league table, but they're the teams that seem to be in form at the moment. Matt was agreeing with you as well, Hannah, saying Gary Jones. He has very much Gary Jones vibes.
They won at Stockport on the opening day, didn't they?
They did 3-1, I believe. They're really going for it, and it's nice to see that there are a couple of exciting different teams that aren't the ones that are just spunking as much cash as they can up a wall and seeing what sticks. Because I didn't think Stockport were all that, and for all their domineering play, to not have a shot on target all game is pretty shocking.
I'd be delighted if we can come through the next 2 games and still be unbeaten going into Eastleigh. I think that would be a really, really solid start. I think, but Torquay at the moment obviously are dangerous because of like what they were last year. But like Tom said a few minutes ago, they've not had a great start. Wrexham obviously I think they've drawn 3 of their games, haven't they? 3 of their 4, so they've had a mixed start. And if we can pick up 2 or 4 points from those 2 games, I'd be absolutely delighted. I mean, I'm hoping that Tom sees a victory at Torquay on Saturday.
It'll be good, Tom. It's not too far for you, is it?
Bloody, it's like 4 hours on the train.
Oh, I forget you're not in Cardiff.
Yeah, well, it's still pretty far from Cardiff as well, to be honest.
I'm trying to be a railway nerd now. I'm trying to work out where you're going to have to change. I imagine someone like
somewhere else.
Exeter.
Tom, would you say it's quicker from where Alex is or where you are to get to Torquay?
Probably where Alex is, to be honest with you.
Right, he'll meet you there. Done.
Yeah.
Is anyone else going?
I am not going. Let me have a look. Google Maps.
I can't, Tom. I would love to, but it's Maisie's first game of the season at the weekend. As I put on Twitter, the bank account says no, but the heart says yes. I don't know about anybody else, but since the world opened up, my bank account has just gone. Last year there was actually a little bit in it. This year, this last month, it's just gone completely to pot.
Oh no, actually, I'm changing in Southampton, Reading, and Newton Abbot, and then 4 hours 23 minutes, and then on the way back the same. That's get back quite late, mind.
How long was that train, Tom?
On the way there it's 4 hours 23 minutes, and on the way back it's 4 hours 47.
How many miles is that? How many miles is Portsmouth to Torquay?
I don't know, but they're in South Coastline. That's why.
I know there isn't. I know there isn't. I'm just.
I missed the opportunity to sort of give you a bit of stick about being a regular and not going to Torquay, Bruce. Anyway.
It's 164. I'll ignore that. It's 140. It's 148 miles. It's further than you think along that south coast.
Yeah, 164 miles from my end. It's not or 174 if I go the
It's over the 150 limit. That's the difference.
Yeah, that's what it is. 185 back to Blundell Park. I'd rather do that and get a decent hot dog as well. Ashley Brown said at Stockport away, I felt like we needed a Caden Jackson type player for the last 20 minutes to really put the shitters up their defence. I assume that we're looking at someone like Essel at the moment being that sort of guy. He was quite speedy during pre-season, and Hurst was saying in his interview after the game against Barnet that he was considering bringing him on as well for the last sort of 10-15 minutes of the game, but he did not to because he was worried about losing a man in the middle. But it seems to we do need a faster player, I think, that's going to break him down if we're not going to have someone like Joel Grant available. It's going to be interesting.
Max Wright further forward.
Well, I'm surprised we haven't seen much more of him. I don't know how many minutes he's played, but he seems to have just made sort of off the bench appearances, or am I wrong?
Yeah, maybe they're just easing in him because he has a few injury problems, hasn't he?
Yeah, afraid so. I'm having a quick look at the questions as well, see if there's anything else. Maybe we could set aside a section of the Osmond for all the Yorkies in attendance. No, but they're more than welcome to come back if we're going to get, 7 goals and win as well. That was from James Howes. We've already answered your question, Dan, so that one's good and ticked off. There was a question there around, do we need to give Crocombe? I don't know if I've absolutely butchered his name. A run of games between the sticks. I wouldn't necessarily fix what ain't broke at the moment. I'm sure he'll get his opportunity. But I think Mac has been okay. He's always a good, safe pair of hands behind the six. I don't know if anybody else has got any thoughts on that.
We hadn't conceded until Saturday. Till Saturday, and suddenly there's randoms popping up that they want a different keeper. Clean sheet at Torquay and a 3-0 win for Tom, and it'll all be forgotten.
Rob has asked, do you think the culture change at the club should extend immediately to the players through Debbie, Jason and Andrew, or do you think that should be left to Paul and Doigy to prevent interfering? I guess my thought on that is a lot of these players have only just started here. So they will get that hopefully from the ethos and the thought process around the club as well. I don't know if anybody else has got anything on that. I think Doigy and Hurst are always good at that.
I would say that, they're the right managers to bring in players who are already of that mindset as well. You wouldn't expect them to bring in bad eggs. So, all our players seem very professional, and they're totally up for interacting with fans and all that sort of thing. So I think, it's already there in their mindset.
Yeah, I agree. A couple of bits that we need to speak about as well. Has anybody got anything to add before we turn off for the night?
No, I'm good.
I wanted to say that we've not really mentioned Sousa, but he was my standout player for Saturday. I thought he was, particularly second half, he absolutely dominated, and that wing looked so strong as well.
I'm glad to hear it. It's good, and I'm looking forward to seeing him. I was slightly worried about the step up, but he seems to have hit his stride already, and quite a few people have talked about his involvement.
Yeah.
No, it looks really exciting.
I can't let it pass as well. Adam Smith has been promoted within the club to be Operations Strategy Manager, Safety. He's going to kill me if I don't know it. I'm wholeheartedly biased. I grew up with Adam as my next door neighbour, and I would not be a Town fan if it wasn't for him. He is absolutely the right person in charge of that, in that position, and given an opportunity, he works his absolute arse off and has worked at the club since work experience in year 10. So he has been there and seen it all. And I was lucky enough to catch up with him a couple of when we were up north, and he was absolutely loving the changes that had been made. And it's nice to see that opportunities are open to those who deserve them and work hard for them. And then sadly, the last thing that we have to sort of make it to just have a comment around, sadly, Dylan Rich, who was a 17-year-old who collapsed in the FA Cup Youth Cup preliminary round against West Bridgeford, has sadly passed away. He collapsed during the game and unfortunately succumbed to the injuries that he received. I'm not sure if anybody knows much about it. Tom, you've watched Boston a few times, but it's a sad loss, and hopefully the facilities the trust have put in will only help try and end those sort of terrible situations.
Yeah, terrible news.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I'm sorry to say we're leaving on a downer then, because it's been a pretty wonderful week. If you haven't gone back and listened to our interview with Jason Andrew, please do take a bit of time and go back to it. It's been great to see their openness. We've got players coming up to be interviewed. Gary Cohen is coming up on the podcast this week as well, which will be great. And hopefully we'll have a fair few more coming in the next couple of weeks as well, as the games come thick and fast. But we get a bit of a break until our game against Torquay on Saturday. Bruce, thank you for coming on. And I love the Jamie Osborne shirt behind you. But my midfielder beats your midfielder.
I'm going to try and dig out a different shirt. Now we've got to actually be dressed for these. If I've got to be dressed, I'm going to make an effort to try and mix the background up a little bit. I might do one of those things that they were doing on the guy who did the fitness videos, and just move something every time and see if anybody notices.
I can't move much in here. It's all quite crammed in. But this is yeah, it looks a bit of a mess at times, but I'll have to take the shirts down now that I'm back at work, or people will be asking me who Alan Putin is, and it will annoy me. Hannah, thank you so much for joining us as well. Hopefully Hugh is having a quiet night on the sofa at the moment and has not got a sicken to deal with.
No, and he's been out all day, so it's been me dealing with her all day. So yeah, he's had a great day.
Oh, well, that's not fair. You can stay
Yeah.
up here for a while, yeah. And Tom, it's great to have you back. Welcome to the South Coast. And it'll be nice to catch up with you soon as well. Once you're all settled in the land of terrace houses. It looks so much like Grimsby down there. It's unreal.
Yeah.
Can we all do Maidenhead?
Yeah,
I'm going to Maidenhead.
Yeah.
It's on.
I'm doing Maiden. Hannah, are you doing Maidenhead?
Possibly. I think Debbie mentioned that she was definitely doing Maidenhead, didn't she?
You can get a lift.
Yeah, no, she.
Oh, we can get her in the,
She said she'd be singing with us all from memory, didn't she?
Yeah, it's going to be a good one, Maidenhead. It's only up the road. It's not too far at all. Tom, get to Aldershot and I'll give you a lift up. Actually, I'm trying to work out how you do that. You'd have to go to Woking.
I've already booked my train tickets, mate.
Ah, rubbish.
Beautiful.
Oh, well. No problem. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. Good night, everyone on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Thank you for joining us. And for those of you listening, we'll see you all very shortly. Speak to you soon. Bye.
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 Open wide for some soccer.